In a world scorched by war and ruled by iron-fisted tyrants, freedom is a forgotten myth. The sky hangs heavy with smoke, and the ground trembles beneath towering steel machines that pump poison into the air. In the heart of this industrial graveyard, a grotesque spectacle unfolds. 3 pale, modified women kneel on a rusted table, their eyes void of life, their bodies symbols of control. The crowd cheers not out of joy, but obedience, programmed applause for a regime that thrives on fear and spectacle. Fire crackles in the distance, yet no one flinches. Pain is routine here. A man leaps onto the stage, waving a bottle aflame. At first, he's just another mad performer in the dictator's circus. But there's something different in his eyes, something dangerous. He grins like a devil, not for show, but for revolution. In the shadows, another man watches in silence. Once a loyal servant of this cruel system, he now sits in quiet torment, bottle in hand, haunted by his own legacy. What begins as a twisted show is about to ignite into chaos, because even in a world built on ash and submission, the smallest spark can still start a fire. The world didn't end with a bang. It crumbled slowly, one betrayal, one bomb, one lie at a time. What once were glittering cities, filled with life and light, are now husks of scorched metal and ash. Towers that reached for the heavens now bend and bleed smoke into a sky that hasn't shown a real star in decades. Civilization didn't die overnight. It rotted from within, until nothing remained but greed, rust, and ruin. Decades ago, humanity crossed a line it couldn't uncross. Artificial modification of human genetics, once a scientific breakthrough meant to cure disease and extend life, became a weapon. Governments fell. Corporations rose like new gods. Entire populations were optimized, some into super soldiers, others into subservient classes. Those deemed imperfect or unprofitable were discarded, or worse, reshaped. The regime known only as the authority now controls what's left of the world. It doesn't govern through hope or belief. It governs through fear, ritual, and relentless spectacle. In the industrial heartlands, once known as the Eastern Free States, cities have been transformed into fortress theaters, where every citizen is both performer and prisoner. Here, in the industrial zone of Sector 17, the air is thick with soot and the echoes of machinery that never stops. Giant refineries belch flame day and night. Surveillance drones hum overhead like mechanical vultures. Even the wind feels synthetic, manufactured and repurposed to carry propaganda instead of dust. And in the midst of all this, the people have forgotten what it means to live. They merely function. They endure. Children are born under gray skies and raised in indoctrination centers. They are taught not to ask questions, not to dream. Smiling is discouraged unless it's for the cameras. Love is forbidden unless approved by genetic compatibility assessments. Joy has been repackaged into state-sanctioned entertainment events, violent, grotesque shows that blur the line between punishment and performance. And tonight, another such show is about to begin. A makeshift stage has been erected in the center of a crumbling refinery yard, lit by burning oil drums and framed by collapsing scaffolding. The crowd gathers silently, not out of excitement, but because attendance is mandatory. Omission is treason. Participation is survival. On the platform kneel 3 women, barely human in appearance, with pale blue-tinted skin, unnaturally white hair, and blank expressions. They are synthets, genetically altered beings crafted for obedience and endurance. Once people, now puppets. Their presence is symbolic, a warning, a message. The authority claims to own not just bodies, but souls. Around the stage, armed enforcers patrol with dead eyes and twitching fingers. Their uniforms are ash-streaked, their weapons clean. Above them, A massive screen flickers with the face of the minister. A synthetic voice begins to drone about loyalty, unity, and sacrifice. No one listens, but no one dares not to watch. This is what the world has become. A place where fear is currency, silence is law, and survival is the only dream left. But under the surface, something stirs. A bottle filled with gasoline changes hands in a shadowed alley. A whisper of rebellion slips between clenched teeth. A pair of defiant eyes meet in a crowd too tired to notice. The world may look dead, but something is still breathing in its ashes. Something waiting to burn. The lights flicker, and the crowd stiffens. Massive flood lamps ignite, washing the stage in cold, unnatural white. The refinery yard falls into an eerie hush, broken only by the metallic hiss of steam and the crackle of open flames. The three women kneeling on the rusted table remain motionless, their spines straight, heads bowed, eyes blank. They do not tremble. They do not speak. Whatever fear they once knew has long since been erased or engineered out of them. A long metallic horn sounds, deep and hollow, like a funeral bell for something that died long ago. The screen above the stage changes. The minister is gone. Now there is only a black and red insignia, the Eye of Order. It stares down on the audience with divine judgment, omnipresent and cold. Then, from the shadows behind the stage, a figure emerges. Not a soldier, not a puppet, a man. He walks with swagger, bottle in hand, the flames from its mouth licking the air like a living thing. The crowd shifts uncomfortably, uncertain. This is not the typical act they're used to. No enforcer, no execution, no speech. Just this man, shirtless and smirking, with grease-stained pants, and a body carved by both labor and violence. He jumps up onto the table, towering above the three kneeling women. They do not react. They've been conditioned not to. With a raised arm, he drinks from the burning bottle, liquor and fire in one. A roar of flame dances at his lips, and for a moment, he becomes something mythic, something dangerous. The crowd gasps. Then he laughs. It's not joy. It's madness. Or maybe rebellion. The sound is raw, jagged, and real in a place where everything else feels staged. Even the enforcers hesitate. A few raise their weapons, unsure if this is part of the show or the beginning of something else entirely. The man speaks, his voice amplified by hidden microphones across the stage. Tonight, he growls, we celebrate control. Your chains, your obedience, your silence. The words echo like gunshots. No one claps. No one dares. He kneels suddenly, mirroring the women beside him, his face just inches from one of theirs. She doesn't flinch. Her eyes are glassy, focused on nothing. He studies her expression, empty, emotionless, not asleep, just hollowed out. Look at them, he says, gesturing wide. Perfect, beautiful, controlled. This is what you were promised, wasn't it? A world with no chaos, no choice. The enforcers begin to move, slowly, carefully. The tension is thick now, crackling like the oil fires overhead. He stands again slowly. The bottle still burns in his hand. This, he says, raising the bottle, is all the freedom we have left. A spark, a scream, a chance. And he pauses, letting the words hang. The three women remain still, statues sculpted in grief. The crowd begins to murmur. Something feels wrong, or maybe too real. For a people so numb to pain, truth is more terrifying than death. Just then, a sudden mechanical chime rings through the air. It's the system's warning signal. Unauthorized deviation from script. The man has gone off script. Now it's official. He's not part of the show. The enforcers react. Weapons cock. Boots thunder against metal. The man smiles wider. Let the spectacle begin, he whispers. And with that, he throws the flaming bottle straight into the sky. It spins, illuminating every eye, every face, and then impact. An oil drum erupts in fire just outside the stage. Screams follow. Panic ripples through the crowd. But the man does not run. He turns to the kneeling women, and for the first time, one of them blinks. Not by command. By will. The control is cracking. The spectacle is burning. Flames lick the sky as the oil drum erupts, sending molten sparks into the night. The crowd scatters in panic, boots stomping on steel, screams swallowed by the roar of fire. Enforcers shout orders through static-choked radios, forming defensive lines, weapons raised, scanning for threats. But the real threat is already standing on the stage, smiling. The man with the fire does not flinch. He stands tall, defiant in the chaos, eyes blazing like the bottle he had thrown. He is not just a performer anymore. He is the fuse. His name, though forgotten by the system, is Kale. Once a mechanic in the lower sectors, once a loyal worker in the authorities' engine rooms, until he saw what they did to his sister, until he learned what the synthets really were. She had volunteered for treatment, promised a cure for a neural disorder, a better life. They returned her to him unrecognizable, skin tinted blue, voice silenced, mind stripped to obedience. She was labeled Unit 834A. Nothing more. Kale had tried to resist then, but resistance only led to chains. He escaped. Barely. Now he's back, not for revenge. For rupture. He reaches into his coat and pulls out a second bottle, this one wrapped in wire and fragments of old circuit boards. A spark flickers at its base. A firebomb. "You turned my blood into property," he growls into the mic. "Now I'll turn your empire into ash." Enforcers surge forward. Kale throws the bomb at the nearest guard tower. Boom. The explosion is smaller than the first, but close enough to knock several soldiers off their feet. Alarms blare. The Eye of Order screen above glitches, its stern insignia distorted by digital static. The three kneeling women remain on the stage, but something has changed. Their stillness is no longer passive. Their eyes move, slowly, deliberately. Awareness flickers behind their expressionless faces. One of them, the one Kale had looked into earlier, tilts her head slightly, just enough to see him. Kale turns to her and speaks, not to the crowd, not to the regime, but to her. "You remember, don't you?" She doesn't answer. She doesn't need to. Behind her empty gaze, something stirs. An enforcer climbs onto the stage, rifle aimed. Kale ducks behind the table. Bullets shatter the rusted steel. Sparks fly. The women still don't move. Another enforcer approaches from the side. But this time, something unexpected happens. One of the women shifts. Just slightly. A hand lifts from the table surface. Her fingers twitch, then grip. The enforcer doesn't see it in time. She grabs his wrist, twists hard. The rifle drops. Gasps erupt from the crowd. Kale sees it. Real movement, real rebellion. Not programmed, not performed. Real. The woman stands slowly, joints stiff from disuse, but steady. The enforcer stumbles back in disbelief. She doesn't speak, her voice module likely disabled. But her message is clear. She remembers. Kale leaps back onto the stage, bleeding from a graze to the arm. He and the woman lock eyes for a second. "You're free," he whispers. The other two women stir now, subtly, each like a machine waking from deep sleep, each pulse a threat to the regime's illusion of control. Below the stage, panic reigns. But above it, something deeper is happening. Not just rebellion. Awakening. The system had cracked. The show was over. Kale raises his fist toward the surveillance drones now circling the chaos. "We are not your puppets," he shouts. "We are the fire you tried to smother." He turns to the rising flames behind him, the stage turning to cinders. "You lit it," he says to the regime. "Now burn with it." And behind him, 3 women stand, not as slaves, as sparks. While flames consume the stage and chaos spreads like infection through the crowd, one man doesn't move. He sits at the edge of the refinery yard, perched on a rusted steel beam beneath a broken floodlight. The light flickers above him, half dead, just like him. In his hand, a near-empty bottle of synthetic liquor trembles, slightly, with each distant explosion. His eyes are hollow, sunken from years of sleepless nights and heavier regrets. His name, once spoken with respect in laboratories and war rooms, is Dr. Elian Vorn. He watches it all unfold: Kale's defiance, the uprising of the Synthit women, the fires cracking through the concrete, with an expression that carries no surprise, only shame. This was never supposed to happen. He remembers when the Synthit program was just a proposal, marketed as salvation. Humanity had fractured after the wars. Overpopulation, rebellion, famine. The Authority promised unity through optimization, modified minds, engineered obedience, clean, efficient, perfect order. And Elian believed in it, believed in the science. The promise. He designed the neural mapping system that stripped emotion while retaining function. He created the cognitive cages those women still wear inside their minds. He told himself they were volunteers, that it was for their own good, that he was saving humanity from itself. Until he saw what they did with his work. The first time he visited a performance site, he vomited behind a military truck. He had expected order, progress, maybe discipline. What he saw was slavery, dehumanization, entertainment made from the suffering of minds he helped erase. He tried to speak up once. They reassigned him to observation duty, gave him silence, a pension, and a bottle. He took all 3. Now he watches Kale, a fire he once warned them about. He'd seen the man's file, his record, the sister, the escape, the pattern. He knew Kale would come back, and a small, selfish part of him hoped he would. The camera drones hover above, recording everything. The minister's broadcast has cut out. The Authority won't respond with statements now. They'll respond with force. Elian knows what's coming. The stage isn't just a stage anymore. It's a battlefield. The 3 Synthit women, once passive, now standing upright, are defying every rule of their design. Their brainwaves should collapse under such stress. Their programming should trigger fail-safes. But they don't fall. They move with clarity, with purpose, with something the Authority had long declared dead: will. Elian closes his eyes and sees flashes from years ago. The lab, the scans, the experiments. He remembers one girl's name before she became a number. Nara. She liked to hum when nervous. A habit he found oddly humanizing. She's one of the 3 on stage now. He's sure of it. He opens his eyes again. For the first time in years, he puts the bottle down. What is broken can still serve a purpose. He pulls a small device from his coat pocket. A neural disruptor, banned for field use due to instability. Originally designed as a kill switch for Synthit units. But Elian, even in his guilt, had reprogrammed it. Not to kill, to unlock. He rises, joints creaking, and begins to walk toward the back of the stage. No one notices the old man stepping through the smoke. No one sees the former architect of obedience moving toward the very fire he helped spark. He knows he won't survive what's coming. But maybe, just maybe, they will. As the sound of gunships echoes in the distance, Elian Vorn clutches the device tightly. If he can get close enough, he can give them a fighting chance. Not just to run, but to rise. The air is thick with smoke and static. Sirens wail in the distance, distant at first, then closer. The gunships have arrived. Floodlights slice through the dark sky like angry eyes. From above, the refinery yard is a glowing wound. burning orange and red against the steel gray of the ruined city. The authorities' retaliation is not subtle. It is swift, brutal, efficient, but down on the ground, amid the swirling chaos, a different kind of fire burns. Kale stands at the center of the broken stage, bruised, bloodied, but unbroken. Beside him, the three Synthit women, once silent tools of obedience, now stand tall, blinking into the flames with awareness returning to their eyes. Something ancient pulses between them now. Not memory, not programming. Instinct. One of them, Nara, touches her temple as if trying to reach deeper into herself. Her lips part, and a breath escapes. No words, just a breath. The first voluntary one in years. The gunships hover into view overhead, metallic, monstrous, faceless. A voice booms from loudspeakers. Cease all movement. You are violating Authority Code 99. Surrender or be neutralized. The crowd freezes. No one moves. Some drop to their knees, hands raised. Others crawl toward exits. But a few, just a few, begin to rise. Citizens, workers, observers. They've seen something tonight they weren't meant to see. Rebellion. In the shadow of a ruined pipeline. Dr. Elian Vorn presses forward, coughing through smoke, clutching the disruptor close to his chest. He's nearly there, just steps from the stage. His heart pounds, but not from fear, from purpose. Nara turns. She sees him. He nods once. Then, without hesitation, Elian tosses the device toward the center of the stage and drops to his knees. Kale catches it midair. "What is it?" he asks, unsure. "A key," Elian says, barely audible through the chaos. "Use it. Free them. Free all of them." Kale looks at the device, cracked, old, but alive with flickering lights. He doesn't fully understand what it is, but he understands the moment. He turns toward the Synthits, then to the watching drones above. "Watch this," he growls. He slams the device down against the stage. A sharp pulse rips outward, silent, but seismic. It spreads like a wave, unseen but undeniable. The three women stagger, hands to their heads. Their bodies tremble, eyes wide. Then one by one, they straighten, and something snaps inside them. No longer bound, no longer controlled. The signal doesn't stop there. It spreads, through buried wires, wireless nodes, and broken comms still linked to other zones. Across the city, across other camps, other units, other minds. Synthits in distant work yards pause. In mines, in prisons, in markets. The same invisible spark hits them. And for the first time in years, they choose. The gunships react. One opens fire. The stage erupts again, flames and steel soaring into the sky. But Kale is already moving, grabbing Nara's hand, pulling her down just in time. The other two dive as well. The platform collapses behind them. But the signal is out. The system has cracked. The rebellion has begun. Smoke swallows the yard, and in that smoke, Kale and the women disappear, vanishing into the labyrinth of the city's underbelly with a handful of others who dared to follow. Behind them, the flames rise higher. The authority will call it a terrorist act. They will send more soldiers, more guns, more fear. But what they won't be able to stop is the idea that even in a world engineered for silence, a single voice, freed, can echo louder than any machine, and that the smallest spark can set an empire ablaze.